Good morning, Smite 2 fans, and welcome back to the Founders Series playoffs here in EMEA. My name is Jim Tucker. I've got Trelly Relly joining me here on the desk as we get ready to kick off our morning with some more esports action. And today is a big one, Trelly, because we are sending teams to the in-studio LAN. 8 teams walk in for EMEA today, but only 3 will walk out with still a chance to make it to Las Vegas.
You're telling me it's already time to send these guys over to where we already are?
Yeah, we're going to be sending teams literally just across the door from us into those booths over there to be playing for a chance to go to Las Vegas in January. That Studio LAN will be in December, so once these teams qualify here, it'll be a couple of weeks that we get to, kind of take off, relax, get ready. I say relax, we're going to be working hard to get ready for all these teams to come in here. But who are these teams and what path have they taken already to get to this point? We do have our bracket. If you missed last weekend, we had some pretty big matches and a pretty big upset, one of which we're going to get to dive into a little bit already. You're checking out the semifinals. Team Risk versus Scorps is one of our semifinal matchups, and the aforementioned kind of upset moment there, Bills Goons versus Mockingbird. Bills Goons able to find a 2-1 upset over Giovanni Giorgio last weekend to now put themselves one set away from qualifying to the in-studio LAN. And then on our losers bracket, we had Titans Reloaded versus Giovanni Giorgio and Yodi Gang versus Smokebreak. For all of those teams down there, it's only one chance left. If you lose in the losers bracket, you're done. Your chance of making it to the in-studio LAN, your chance of making it to Las Vegas, all shattered. If you're up in the semifinals, at least on the top side of the bracket, you have another chance. But then you've got to defeat the teams that are down there, and there's still some really good teams down there, Trelly.
Yeah, there's some talent in all forms of this bracket, which is always going to be exciting, of course, because, as J-Mac said, they're playing to try and get to this in-studio LAN, and there's only 3 spots. So you can't take everyone. There's some very talented teams that, unfortunately, we're going to have to say goodbye to, but it's all going to be about who wants it more.
And with these teams, we can take a look at the rosters for these teams as well. We showed what the matchups are, but who's on these teams. So Team Risk has been pretty much the definitive #1 EMEA team, so it's up to Scorps to see if they can topple the matchup there. For Bills Goons, it's a bunch of players who have kind of been maybe in like the middle pack SCC. A couple of names have kind of popped themselves up a little bit higher in the SCC of SMITE 1's era, but here in SMITE 2, this was a team that we kind of looked at and went, yeah, these guys are all right. These guys may be like a 4th place team, kind of maybe capping out there, maybe around that 5th, 6th point, but now are in the top 4 trying to find their path to Las Vegas and trying to find their path to the in-studio LAN, and they got to take down Mockingbird, who is another team of star-studded players from the amateur scene of SMITE 1's era. And then down over in Titans Reloaded versus Giovanni Giorgio and the Yodi Gang Smokebreak. Again, those bottom 2 matches are elimination matches, where these top 2 right now are technically qualifying matches. If Team Risk or Scorps win out this matchup, that means that they get to come to the in-studio LAN. For Bills Goons Mockingbird, find their win, they also get to come to the LAN. Then the losers have to go down and try and fight for one last chance to make it forward. Because we keep repeating it, we keep hammering it home, there's only 3 spots left. We had 14 teams walk in for EMEA at the start of last week, and even more so from there. If you think about the path and the journey that these teams have taken, it started all the way back in mid-September, playing in an open bracket, qualifies into the Swiss stage, and then from Swiss, last chance qualifier, now here for week 2 of the playoffs. It has been a long, long journey for some of these teams.
It sure has, and honestly, it feels as if it's been going on for such a long time that the gravity is not lost on me, of course. There is so much on the line for these squads, but every weekend for the past couple months, we've just been watching these guys battle it out for a while. These top-end teams, they have a month break, right? They just had to sit back, but when you qualify into a tournament like this, you got to be ready to play every single weekend and play your best version of SMITE 2 every single weekend, and that's what's important. You can't have a bad weekend, not when this much is on the line. So who's going to show up? Who's going to have the best weekend? That's also a good question because, again, there's been some upsets. It's not as if we just look at the seeding and the top-end teams have just sweeped out. I got to give some credit to Bills Goons. You can't just, chalk up that win because we're doing best of 3s. It's not best of 1s. You can't just chalk up that win to, they got lucky on the Titan seed. Sure, that's what it looked like, but, Bills Goons had to put themselves in that position. They had to win a game as is to be able to be in that spot. So Mockingbird, also a very talented team. I got to talk about them a bit on SMITE Too Long Didn't Watch. I gave them a little bit of the edge over this matchup just in my head, but I mean, as far as I can see, this is anyone's game.
I mean, when you go down just the roster of teams that came into the playoffs, Mockingbird was one of the top teams that had made their way into the playoffs. And then you look down at Bill's Goons, they were a team that had kind of just barely gotten their way here. They just barely squeaked by getting through the Swiss bracket. And kind of mentioning, the fact that this is a best of three. You look back at the very beginning of the journey for them, that first round of open bracket, that was best of ones. You may get one good lucky game and you can find yourself a little bit higher in spot. Then Swiss, you had a couple of different fallbacks. If you lose week one, no big deal. You still got a couple more weeks you can try and qualify through. First, a couple of teams like Team Risk, they qualified in week 3 of Swiss, and they just got to sit back. They got to watch everybody else play. They got to do their own thing, kind of watch how the meta has developed and whatnot. But for some of these teams, they have been battling every single week to try and get to this point. And we can get ready to jump into the picks and bans for game number 1 of our weekend. Bill's Goons versus Mockingbird. And if I'm not mistaken, Charlie, we got a few new gods joining the rosters now for competitive play. Last week, Kepri, Izanami, Nemesis competitively banned. This week, I believe they should all be back and open, ready to go. But no surprises here, Charlie. I mean, this god was a dominant force in last weekend's matchups, and really ever since the buffs have kind of come his way, Zeus has just been a menace on the battleground.
Zeus sure has. Now that there is some extra, gods in the roster, I want to see if that shakes up the meta at all, because a lot of times you expect not so much, like maybe you get to see a little bit of Kepri action, but, does pressure win the day? Are we going to stick with things like, your Lokis, your Jingweis, Fenrir, your Moja? Looks like Bill's Goons just want to take that Amaterasu immediately. Now, this has been a multi-role god for sure. Other than another has played it in mid. I've seen a fair bit of Amaterasu jungle, and of course, Ama can find her home in the solo lane, no problem. I'm going to assume it's mid just because I know the other likes to play it. But again, Klino has a fantastic Ama. This could easily be a flex pick.
Yeah, I think the fact that this god has been so flexible jumping into SMITE 2. I mean, you look at the era of SMITE 1 for Amaterasu, pretty much solo lane. She had a small bit where she was being played support by players like PBM and Aurora at that time. Maybe once or twice we saw her kind of pop in jungle at the end of the lifetime, but it's primarily been a solo lane god. But now here in SMITE 2, Amaterasu has gone just about everywhere at some point in the competitive history for her. Opposite side, though, for Mockingbird, they lock in their dual lane right away, or at least assumedly their dual lane. We've been seeing a lot more of the Ymir locking himself down in that support role alongside the Jingwei. But one god that was kind of tearing up the scene last week, now on the side of Bill's Goons, Charlie, we have a Sobek Amaterasu already starting out their draft.
Yeah, I mean, not a terrible matchup in the Ymir. Their pluck can get walled off pretty easily, but Ymir very immobile. Even with that wall bounce, you can kind of get run down by lurking in the waters, and the Sobek's Acute is an absolute threat. So keep your eyes on that Sobek for sure. Match it up with an on her. We were wondering if pressure would win the day, and it seems like, at least in presumably duo lane, that is what Bill's Goons is looking for. Of course, Sobek, another one of those characters, though, that can play multiple roles. If that is mid-Ama, could be solo Sobek. We'll have to keep watching, but Fenrir, this god, despite taking some heavy nerfs through the past couple weeks, he's not going anywhere. Like my boy Fenrir has the setup. He's got the early pressure. He's got good buff clear. He just brings everything you could want.
It's almost like having an ultimate that can pick somebody up and just bring them to your team. Still holds so maybe some level of value to it. Similar kind of mindset of that is a Hekate who can do it from a range, and it's kind of strange that we haven't seen maybe as much Hekate in the last couple of weeks. It really felt like she's kind of taken a backseat to some of the other mages in mid. We've seen Raw kind of pop up. Kukulkan has still been a popular pick, but Hekate hasn't been as frequent recently. One god that we really don't see that much more either going for a mid lane contestant pick here is the Morgan. So the Morgan versus Hekate in the mid lane. What's that matchup kind of like, Charlie?
Man, it really depends, because I think the Morgan, if you have something like a Loki to transform into, you can just chain together double assassinates. You can even use the Fenrir. You can turn into Ama if you want to just try and dive, but it's also very immobile. You have to get a lot of movement speed, because open the gates is going to get you if you're not paying attention. You don't want to be pulled back in, as you mentioned. You're going to have to hold on to your beads or your blink, whatever you're going to use to try and get out of that situation. It's all about pressure, though, and if you can snowball a lead, then Hekate doesn't even want to step up to the wave, right? You could be invis, you could be looking for a stun and an engage right at the tower line every single time you walk up to try and clear the wave. I think it's all going to be about Can Hawk play safely in the mid lane, chill under tower, get a lead, and just be able to poke out and make sure other than the others threatened? If that's the case, then Morgan kind of has a rough time, right? There's a lot of AoE damage that Akate brings that can just reveal you in stealth and just make your life miserable. So it's going to be about, can you get ahead, and can you use the jungle paths to sort of make early rotations? Because I think the Morgan, one of the better mid laners at playing as a pseudo jungler.
And for both of these two teams, a reminder that a victory in this set, get yourselves your 2-0, your 2-1, whatever it be. If you win this set, you come to the in-studio land in just a couple of weeks in December. A loss here isn't the end of the road. You drop down to the losers bracket. For Bill's Goons, already finding one big upset in this tournament by taking down Giovanni Giorgio last week, now put themselves in this position. If they can take down Mockingbird, they make it to the in-studio land, are one of the definitive top 3 teams of the region because there's only 3 spots available for them. For Mockingbird, their final selection goes over to this Chalk to face off against what is maybe presumably the Amaterasu, but still some flexibility along with the Sobek. Mockingbird has been a team that we've been talking about since week number 1, saying that these guys have what it takes. This could be a top 3 team. This could be, at the very worst, maybe a top 4 team. But now they've got to put their money where their mouth is and see if they can find themselves success up against Bill's Goons and see who's going to come out on top in this first semi-final set, because it should be a really big matchup between these two. Trelly, I'm excited to see really what these players can bring out here today when a lot of it is on the line.
Absolutely, and you got to look towards just being able to snowball early. That's always a topic of conversation here. And when I look at Mockingbird, I just imagine the freedom that a pick like Chalk and Fenrir can bring to the table. Of course, late game, I gotta lean a little bit towards Bill's Goons just because they have Loki, and I think that Loki is just such an easy engage, such an easy 1v1 if you're able to engage properly. Now you've got possibly 2 of them with the Morgan. But early on, I mean, Fenrir should just be able to dominate up against a Loki, especially if you go something like Sunder in the jungle. You could just walk up, steal a buff, try and chase down, bully out this Loki, and just make April's life miserable, right? I think that's definitely a topic of conversation. Bill's Goons want to get to late game, and even if they make it to late game, it's not as if it's free, right? Hakate and Jingwei are not gonna fall off once they hit 6 items in level 20. They are just going to be increasing their threat level, so not going to be an easy one for sure. I think Bill's Goons are going to have to play a little bit passive early on, but they can also lean on their ease of engage later on. It's not as if they have to wait for a Ragnarok to set up for them. They've got Sobek pluck, right? It could just be you're sitting around a corner, you're sitting in a bush, you find a pluck, now we're up 5-4 instantly. Like, that's how quickly and how much damage Bill's Goons do have off of an easy CC like Sobek pluck.
And maybe that ease of CC and engage is kind of what's been so important now in SMITE too, with only being able to have access to a single relic. You usually have to pick between beads or Aegis if you're one of these carry style of players. The supports are more often going towards this Talisman of Purification, and sometimes we're even seeing 2 of those, depending on if it's a more tanky style of jungler picking up one. Don't think we're going to be seeing one out of the Loki. Or it might be the solo laner in this case, who potentially picks up a second, dependent on the level of CC and maybe threat of need to have something like Purification beads. Fenrir is going to be that quick and easy access. You get somebody picked up by Fenrir, you're going to want to press beads, or you're going to want your support to slam that talisman for you and try and bail you out here. For Mockingbird, they might also be in a situation where they're going to need maybe a couple of talismans or a few extra sets of beads, because as you mentioned before, double assassinate potential with the Morgan and Loki combination. Sobek's plucks are just going to be on cooldown like that every single time. You think it's done? I got just enough cooldown. We're back in 10 seconds. We're going to try it again. But there's always still that threat. We talked a lot about it in SMITE 1's era. You miss a pluck or you pluck a target that's got the beads. If your team's not there to try and bail you out, it could be a dangerous spot for the Sobek to be in.
That's true, but if you are relying strictly on your support to beat you, I'm not seeing too many supports beat Sobek pluck, right? Like, you gotta be on point to beat the Sobek pluck with your active item beads that you're trying to give to your squad. Like, if you're ready for it, it's a little bit different, but if you just walk up to a grass path and you see your carry pluck, you're not gonna be like, oh, you're gonna beads him after the fact. Whereas Ragnarok and Ymir Freeze are usually a little bit more telegraphed in that instance. So it's something to watch out for sure, but as you mentioned, if you do see a Sobek pluck and there's a Jingwei nearby, you're going to get knocked up, you're going to get crit, you're going to get shredded through. You have to be very choosy about when you decide to engage because you're going to get walled off for sure. You're going to get frozen as well. There's just so much lockdown here for Mockingbird to punish those mistakes that Bill's Goons can make. And we didn't even mention just about everyone on the side of Bill's Goons. They do not like this Ymir wall. I mean, there is a ton of value that this pick can bring. So I'm going to be watching the duo lane pretty heavily here.
Well, the party's going to start here in game number 1. Semifinals and qualification on the line. It's Bills Goons versus Mockingbird. And we're going to take it over to our casters.
Thanks, guys, for handing it over. And SMITE fans, it's game number 1. Playoffs are here. We're closer and closer to lands, and the road to Vegas is getting more and more on the horizon. It's Malum Gormizer and, of course, Doug on the 1s and 2s, and we're already rocking an invade out. A pluck on to do, and let's get the party started, huh? Playoffs are on, the Sunders are out, and the first blood is there for Bills Goons.
I mean, talk about coming into a hot start. I don't know what I was expecting. I don't know what I was
Good morning, Gore.
Yeah, so we gotta wake up, get the brain flowing already. Deduin did nothing wrong there. Let's just be clear. Deduin was doing the thing we've seen everyone do for the past 3, 4, 5 months. It's just unfortunate that this was the one time Bills Goons happened to be there. So many times I've seen these like super early game groupings from these teams, especially over the last weeks. Like we've even lamented about it. We've cried about, well, maybe not that far. We've definitely been upset about it though, where, you know, oh, your grouping is 5, you're going to run around the jungle. No one's going to see anything. We're not going to have any fight, any action. That's just, you just drew the short straw. Like there's literally no other way to describe it. Really good grouping. It does, you know, highlight, maybe intrigue me because of what I saw from Doug highlighting, which is the amount of Bumba's dagger. But this is going to be another early fight.
A blink away from Krakito to reposition. There's a freeze onto the Sobek, who's not in too much danger. Remember, that pluck is online. We saw it used on Deduin, but going to be impossible to defend. They're purple, and Bills Goons will go down 1. So the proxy works out pretty well for Mockingbird, and a great response and attention from the Emir to help make it work.
I actually really like that call as well. The idea and premise from Mockingbird to recognize that, you know, what, 4 or 5 people all pinged up on the map when they killed Deduin, and you know, okay, they got first blood, they're going to reset, they're going to do their best, but we have an advantage on left now. Let's go proxy.
Another blinks in, looked for the stone on the Spudio, did not find it. Calvin out of range as well. But we have to go back to the elephant in the room, the green elephant in the room, so to speak. The starts for Bills Goons. You started to talk about it. We keep getting interrupted because Mockingbird really is liking to fight. They took that kill on Deduin personal. But that is a really interesting start, not one we've seen. And, you know, it's funny. I would almost be less surprised if we were already at the studio LAN and saw something so unique with some time in between. But this is a weekend-to-weekend play call here.
Yeah, the thing that I think is actually really exciting about the way Bills Goons are playing this, one, and this is something I've talked about some with some of the top teams or some of the top players, but like this discussion of, you know, what it's like playing in an alpha and recognizing that like you've kind of got something new to learn almost every day right now. It feels like you are going to be logging in. If you're scrimming, you know, there's going to be something new to practice. This feels like one of those, hey, new to practice things. Did it work? Was there a buff? Was there something to change? And realistically, for the Loki, of course it makes sense, right? I mean, look across the way. It's the same for the Fenrir, and they're going to be getting a lot of damage on the Clino. And you know what? We'll just plow right through that one because I want to get this point out finally. Fenrir, you know, again, they're starting the same. Makes sense. They're in the jungle. You're going to go for the cudgel. You're going to go for something that allows you to just jungle well. The one that's not as surprising, it goes with what Trelly said about the Morrigan, which is another start that allows you to kind of jungle, the pseudo jungle, the second jungle in a way, because that's something that Morrigan's really, really good at, and we've already seen her gank the dual lane, so why not, right? Go ahead and get aggressive, get something that allows you to maybe invade a little, and play kind of alongside your Loki all around the map, in the jungle, by yourself, be able to go for more ganks, just cause a lot of trouble. The one that kind of surprises me is the on her. I didn't really expect to see it down there, so that's the one that, again, maybe catches me by surprise, but goes to show maybe how powerful this item could be with what I'm expecting to see some rotations, but we'll have to see, because now that the dual lane has been invaded, the fact that they got proxied early on, it might have slowed down this start a little harder for Krakito than it maybe would have otherwise.
And J-Mac and Trelly did a great job of giving us all the perfect things to look for in the game, but the one I think easiest to follow early that you even touched on a bit there was if the Hekate can get snowballed out of this matchup, it's a completely different game than it could be, and it favors Bills Goons pretty significantly. And they're doing so across the map, because you don't just need to snowball in the lane of the character you're trying to get ahead, but if you can control the entire map, then you're really set up for greatness. And Klino and April doing this exact thing. Unlucky ultimate for the Loki. So Chalk will get away, but the red buff and the blue buff successfully invaded.
And I feel like that is pretty much where this team wants to be. It seems like they don't really care about the kill count, and realistically, they shouldn't, right? Herox comes over, gets the single kill in the solo lane, and Ama just shrugs it off and immediately goes back in for the invade, because what matters right now is getting the experience and the gold. And when you're stripping that away, like wave per wave, you're still going to get something, right?
Right.
Right now, it's a level. And a little bit, it could be 2 or 3, right? That's the kind of compound, I guess, interest, experience, and gold that you get. And so, pulling a little bit in your way, trying to win neutral camps, that's where Mockingbird, right now, at least on right for Mockingbird, maybe on left for Bill's Goons, considering how the game has been going, you've got to be able to try and find some of that neutral camp and experience to try and just balance out what you've been losing on from invades, the one proxy wave we saw so far from Mockingbird over in duo, like just some of that pressure. Try to alleviate it wherever you can, and otherwise, Malum, I'd say they've been doing a great job because the game's pretty much dead even still.
I think the scariest thing for Bill's Goons is that there's a kill onto Herox on the Fenrir. If you put a Fenrir even the slightest bit ahead, you feel it in this current state of the meta. We'll see if it matters in this fight. Nice mez into the two-man jump. There's the bite, the gates, the damage. Is there a kill onto a Frill? Not so far. That Morgan perfectly times the Loki ult to get away. So no gain, a lot burned from Mockingbird as well, but that's the kind of play they want to make. And look who's still hanging around. Klino rotated over and stole the purple from I'd be pretty mad. Why is this solo here? That doesn't even make sense if I'm on Mockingbird.
Well, you know, you've gotta get it somewhere, I guess. No, I actually do think, and this is something that I really am interested to see if solo changes a little bit. I feel like rotations from solo right now are way more important than the lane itself. Like, obviously you want to win your lane, you want to be able to do fine, but I think you could be getting bodied, and neither
especially
of them really
EMEA.
are right now. Yeah, you could just, as long as you make a better rotation, whether that's for a neutral camp or an invade or, say, you know, a Gold Fury, which I think I'd put a lot of weight on. Like, those are going to be more important and matter a lot more, I think, not just to me, but like really just in general for the game right now. And you've got those teleporters. Like, as long if you use those, if you're you know, leaning on that as a mechanic that you can use and utilize and flex, I think you could have a commanding presence from the solo lane, and all you really did was just show up.
Party at the purple buff. A pluck out to keep Calvin away, but maybe you want that dash. Sobek might just go down and does. Herox able to find the kill on the rotation. Looks for the bite, but Krakito blinks away to reposition. Herox turns, adjusts, improvise, adapt, but not overcoming the escape of the Morgan, and a speed buff safe for Bill's Goons. So Mockingbird get the purple, fail for the speed, but burn quite a lot on the left-hand side.
Yeah, I'm really impressed and interested. Like, there's a lot of blink going on the side of
I
Bill's
love the
Goons.
blink repositions. It's been so exciting.
Exactly what I was gonna say as well. Like, the idea that Fenrir can go up, and like most of the time you can actually bait out a beats if you are playing Fenrir at like the top of your level. The fact that you can't really catch up with the combat blink unless you have it, which we know you don't, you've got Sunder instead, means that's a get out of jail free card. And that means, you know, for April, for another, in the future, you know, maybe not having to use your ult to get out of there, or maybe being able to use your ult to get out because you're using the blink to get in, things like that, vice versa. We've seen them use kind of the engage, actually, for the most part, to try and dodge Hawk and his damage more than anything. But I think if you expect to see them get the fight rolling, those are going to come in handy just incredibly, incredibly well. And specifically for the on her, like you said, having a leap and then having a second get me away from here just feels good.
It does, and especially the way that Krakito is looking to play this on her, going the Bloodforge to start things out, getting that shield for boxing. I was curious if we were going to see the Bloodforge or the Serrated, as both have been getting picked up ADC, but having that shield box now to Jingwei, who's still working on Devos, that creates a lot of fun stuff.
Yeah, no, I'm actually really excited to continue to see The downside is it does feel like you have, well, I guess, quote unquote, what, a slower start overall, but this game, I kind of expect it to be neck and neck for a long time. You're not going to necessarily, well, I was going to say not going to be trying to get aggressive, but here they are.
Chaining the Loki ultimate, just like we were told to look out for, but Mockingbird are able to get away. So they did get themselves a Gold Fury at 7 minutes 28 seconds, but at 9:05, there hasn't been much ground gain since. The Queen Naga was taken recently as well, so that is currently off of the map. So that slow burn, that kind of famous EMEA pace, that's been there a little bit, but the fighting early, the positioning we're seeing from April, it feels like both of these teams still are remembering, as J-Mac was talking about, their roots for Founder Series so far. They've been scrappy making it to this point. Why leave it at the door?
Yeah, I would say the kill count does not portray well how many fights we've been seeing. It's just that everyone's been really good at exactly what Krakito does, getting out alive right now.
The Cersei's backstone to get closer for the ult. The technology, we've got it from Calvin.
And you know what? I'm gonna say that one's on me. I told Krakito he was out. That's
I was just about to say, wow, look at that Blood Forge shield go. It almost got him away. Egg on my face.
Look, is there anybody? It's like the Spanish Inquisition. No one can predict the Xerxes Hexstone deep dive under the tower to try and get the Ymir ult. Admittedly, I also didn't even expect the Ymir ult to do enough damage at that point. So that was really well done. I was like, oh, he's gonna have to charge it too long. This isn't gonna work out the way he wants it to. Cool play, but it's not gonna happen. Nope, he got the kill before I could even finish the thought, before the words could even leave my mouth. So I kind of buried myself for no reason there. I think impressive from Calvin and good on Mockingbird. The things that were really successful for Bill's Goons in the first few minutes, they haven't been happening. It's not like I haven't really gotten to see another with a crazy rotation. I mean, you had mentioned the items. I still think the itemization is pretty cool, but looking at the other side, a lot of those stacking items are either close to done or over halfway done, so you're in a good spot for damage from Mockingbird. And the invades have been not only less and less, I would even argue I've seen Mockingbird on the offensive more than I've seen them having to retreat now. So it feels like a lot of what they had going for them, you know, playing in the jungle and conceptually what I thought was going to be just invades constantly, rotations constantly, has kind of fallen flat. It's not getting the tune that I expected. They're not playing to the key that I had wanted to hear. And now they have to figure things out, and it might be because of this rotation from an Ana that helps things overall.
Jingwei does have Fatalis online, so a lot of kiting potential to help keep Spadio safe. And this could turn into a lot. Gold Fury's up. You already see 2 members on for Bill's Goons. Klino, frozen, but tanky enough to withstand the storm, at least for the time being, but Gold has been let go by Bill's Goons. Now we got a full grouping on this left-hand side. Everyone's here, but other than another, Kalino's already in trouble. The Dazzling Events is trying to get away in time, but will get caught by the fight and brought down. Herox with their 3rd kill. Can you turn and find another? No, knocked up instead by the Storm Call. Pucked back into more damage and gone by the Sub-Execute. No more Herox, and Mockingbird try to regroup, but they're taking too much damage. The Duin's got to get out, but can you get away from other than another? Yes. A close attempt from the Morgan there, turning into Loki, but can't get any closer. But Gore, everyone rotated for gold. It turned into a 1-for-1 and no gold.
Yeah, I'm actually impressed. It feels like you come out just a little ahead for Bill's Goons because you heal the jungler, right? That's always going to weigh a lot more in my mind than getting a kill on the solo. A kill at all is good to feel good, but you slowly and start this progress and process, I should say, of showing us what these jungle team fights and admittedly what a 5-on-5 is going to feel like. The downside that really is going to exist for Mockingbird is that while you've got Ymir, who I think is absolutely insane in changing jungle matchups, because good wall changes everything, good freeze. Chalk doesn't really change too much whether he's in the jungle or in lane, because his abilities are the same. I feel like Sobek benefits though, because when you get pulled away in such a narrow corridor, it becomes so much more isolationist than you would feel in the middle of the lane, right? It's harder to get back to your team. It's harder to find that safe place. And so it feels like if Dutcher is able to pick up someone, you've got a pretty solid chance of a kill for the rest of your team. And that's exactly what we see there, where you get one of the most mobile gods in the game on lock, but if he doesn't have his leaps or any sort of disengage, there's nothing he can do about it, and it's a free kill.
If you've been playing Smite 2 yourself, or if you've been keeping up with Founder Series, then you know if purple buff's getting pressured, if one team has the timers of the enemy purple, they're kind of using that to help dictate Gold Fury, and Mockingbird's been on it so far this game and doing so. That's their second Gold Fury now at 14 minutes. They're up 2 kills and up 3k gold and 2300 experience. So it's looking great to be Mockingbird. But what's so interesting is as ahead as they are, and in such a close game that is a good lead, which will extend further with this Pyromancer that Mockingbird does successfully grab, Bill's Goons doesn't feel as far out and as separated as the scoreboard might indicate.
It really feels like they should be like way worse off by this point, right? Like you've lost 2 Gold Furies and a Pyro. Like as far as I'm concerned, your early game, while a little successful, means nothing anymore. But then you look down and much like you said, like experience is pretty much even. The biggest gap is between Spud and Krakito. Like the fact that one team, for lack of a better way to say it, one team has a carry and the other team has a designated farm person right now. Like I do not expect to see Krakito rotating too much, and I don't know that you should. It feels
At
like
least they've got Bumbas.
Big waste. You got them. Yeah, I mean, in theory, like if this lane had gone well, you'd be in their jungle. You'd be stealing camps left and right. You kind of can't even confirm your own half the time though. So we've got a really hedging way, and it is worth noting that that is one of the worst states for a Jingwei to be in ever for you. Like, you do not want her to be comfortable, and you do not want her to be ahead, and now she's got a full tier 3 item over what this on her has been able to pick up because of the gold, and that means you have someone rotating into these fights that's just going to hit harder than anybody building who's going to have to back up.
Walk back on to Calvin, might be the first pick of this fight, stuck under the tower. The Hexstone cannot get you away. Open the gates, Mike, but followed up on, but no, the rocket jump is good. A good escape there from Calvin. Meanwhile, Kalino, who had rotated over, will pay the price for it, as hi-rez will pick up their 4th kill so far this game. And another fight where it feels like the little mechanics are starting to shape through. That was something I was going to talk to you about, Gore. While there's some names on this team I'm sure people have known for a long time, you know, Deduin, Spudio, April, among others, there's a lot of names that are newer that have come up in Founder Series, other than other. hi-rez and Hawk, they're players that I've seen from amateur leagues, the SOC, SCC that we've talked about with teams like in North America, Food Drive for Globe, where one thing that all those players have always been so good with is their mechanics. It's just a matter of morphing them into team chemistry and more macro play, and both these teams are doing all.
Yeah, realistically, this is what you need to expect. Look, one of these 2 teams is going to come to land, right? Like, they mentioned it on the desk. It feels like it's worth reiterating. If one of them is going to come to land in December and is going to have the opportunity to fight, as long as you're top 6 after that land, you get to go to Vegas. Like, this is the kind of play, like, you need to have, like you said, the mechanics on point. You need to feel clean and crisp and solid. And realistically, the fact that Bill's Goons are putting up such a great fight despite such a pretty massive gold deficit is nothing short of impressive to me. I feel like they've been keeping up, and admittedly, it kind of helps that right now Krakito's the problem, right? Like, you can identify and isolate and say, hey, this is where we're losing our farm. This is the person who's behind. This is where the trouble is at. Our solo, our jungle, our mid, and our support are fine. It's only in one aspect that we're not really controlling this game, despite the fact that we're down 6,000, 7,000 gold. So if we can isolate that and do what we can to bring it back, which in this case is let Krakito farm, don't really rely on the on her for rotations, just try not to lose out on too much, be there for the big objectives, then you can control and stem the bleeding pretty heavily. And now you're looking at the fact that it was, what, 3 levels a second ago? It was 14 to 11? Now it's 16 to 15 between Spud and Krakito. So obviously it's working. It's just making sure that you can catch up. I see the on her hovering at what, like 9,000. Jingwei just sub 11,000 for their net worth. You just need a little more gold.
Mir almost dead. Same story for the Sobek, brought back by the gates, but the dash forward caught. hi-rez there again. Looks for the fight. Won't find the on her and takes some poke for it, but damage done already with 1 pick onto Bill's Goons. Now, what do Mockingbird do with this? You got options. Pyro up and Gold Fury up on the map. Klino's heading back to solo, or do you fight? These are the kind of calls that Gore was just talking about. What do you make your decision as a team? Do you go together? The call, mid-tier 1, and they'll get it easily, and Bill's Goons just back up.
And realistically, I like the pace Mockingbird is setting, mainly because they recognize they've got a gold lead. They recognize that you kind of have to make this call. Say, Bill's Goons, match us. What are you going to do? Like, you know, step up to where we step up. Fight at our range. Fight where we want. Or lose out. You lose your tier 1. You lose yet another Fury, right? Like, it's calling them to say, like, try to find something. We just want to see you step up. And if Bill's Goons don't, Mockingbird wins because they get the, you know, all the gold and objectives and everything you need in the world. And if they do, as of right now, Mockingbird wins because of all the other gold and objectives they've got with no answer. It just feels like, as much as I really like what Bill's Goons are doing, I haven't really seen them clap back in many instances. Yeah. I mean, we've them go 1 for 1, but that can only mean so much in the grand scheme of Gold Furies, Pyromancers, Fire Giants. You got to get something that's on the board here, and they just haven't found the opening that they need to break something down and try to get back into this.
Now at 20 minutes, and that gold lead has ballooned, getting closer to 9K as his Pyromancer is picked up by Mockingbird. No clear contest nearby. The Morgan will have a chance at it. Not impossible to grab, but will not look for succession of the Pyro. And what's even scarier to me is, in terms of God selection, things only get worse from here. This is something the desk had talked about, where late game, things start to take a shift around. The Loki's got to do a lot of heavy lifting. Fire Giant pulled, already down to half health. Can the Loki even get there is the new question. Dutcher trying to do the same thing. Not nearby. You got Kalino in the pit now, taking a look at Calvin, who's low. The Fire Giant goes down, and the fight's not looking too bad for Bill's Goons. I think they might even gotten a steal on that Fire Giant. Looking for the Fenrir. There's a Talisman out. Look at the damage in the back line of Mockingbird. But Spudio's able to clean up Kalino, who's in their face. Dutcher will still go down, but the distraction, it wasn't good enough. That's 2 dead for Bill's Goons, and they lose out on Fire. A tough break for the blue squad.
Now, yeah, you're in maybe the worst case scenario you could have been. You've lost 2, and it's your tank. So realistically, who's stepping up to try and defend this with you? And the answer should be no one. Meanwhile, you're still down in Bill. And like you said, it just opens up aggression for Mockingbird here. Now they can start knocking on towers. That gold lead is just going to balloon even further. Don't know what to do and doing over there on his own. Good call to get out of there. But realistically, this team in Mockingbird could just play aggressively. They can kind of play a little loose right now, just because they have such a pretty wide advantage. Respawn's coming in for Dutcher and Klino means that Phoenix's might be a little more difficult. But this is where that Jingwei advantage comes back in. You've got someone who's dealing a lot more and hitting a lot harder, has a full tier 3, again, still over Krakito. And that means that if you do get into a fight, whether it's under the Phoenix or a little outside of it, as we've seen, you've got someone in Spud that's just kind of hitting harder right now. And someone that you can rely on and know is going to be there. So it might be, what is that, just 1-0-5? Not too crazy, nothing super duper impressive. But it's getting the job done more and then some. In fact, farming up the best in the game outside of maybe the solo waiter.
It's like addition by subtraction of the Onher, the addition for Mockingbird, you know, because the Onher is not competing right now into the Jingwei. And even itemization-wise, the damage just isn't there, comparatively speaking. I almost wonder, you know, it's always scary to talk about picks and bans of a game 2 when you're still in game 1 trying to make it work. There was an Izanami on the table that could have been a really good answer to the Jingwei, and Bill's Goons, while they still got to get through game 1, that 10k gold mark, that's always a bit of uh-oh territory, especially once you have Phoenixes that are about to start hearing some knocking. You got to figure something out for the rest of this game at least, but man, I can't help but wonder if that's burning in the back of their mind.
I mean, now I'm trying to figure out where the best place to mount the defense is. It has to be around a Phoenix, right? Like, I don't know where you can step up. I actually love this, right?
Yeah,
step
take away
up,
the Ancient Fury.
Recognize you're not going to get a tier. You're not going to save your tier 2. You might lose your Phoenix, though, but it's something in terms of progress.
And keeping that Ancient Fury away For Mockingbird, it's a good feeling, but you've lost your solo Phoenix, and you really only gain advantage on a tier 1 in mid, a tier 1 in solo. No split push attempt out and left. Now you've lost your mid Phoenix here soon. You got to call the troops back. The Honor is yet to back. This is getting messy quickly for Bill's Goons. Wall, looking for a freeze. Not there. Kalino dash away. Sobek tail whipping in front of nobody, and Deduin will make Dutcher pay. Deduin did not forget the first blood that started this game off, and Mockingbird did not either. They're looking for the first blood of the set. Taking out another one. It's a Preel down to Calvin. Now it's just a matter of time. Mockingbird have cleaned house. Only Krakino's left standing. You can shut the door in their face, but they're going to kick in the front door of your base any moment. Herox looking for the stun, gets it. Brutalize on the blink to reposition. Won't matter. Titan's dying. Krakino can get the ego chow all he wants. Mockingbird is going to take game number 1.
I mean, that was just played clean from them, right? I mean, early on, you got to have that conversation specifically around what some of these fights looked like and some of the invades. But I think if you're looking at Mockingbird and how they replied to that first blood, right? Seeing so many people surround Deduin, so many people step up and kill the solo lane, and they matched it with invades and they matched it with a proxy to make sure that the duo lane was going to suffer a little bit. And then it was just a step forward from there. It seemed really, really well done and really well executed from them. I mean, pretty much from the get-go. There were some invades that caused a little bit of trouble and some pause, but outside of those, it was clean.
It really was. I mean, it's funny, Kalino's on Bill's Goons. But,
Yeah.
but no, I'm with you. Mockingbird, they really impressed me. I was looking at Bill's Goons. I know Mockingbird was the favorite. I also favored them in this matchup. But for game 1 to look like that, when Bill's Goons was coming off of such a momentum push from the previous week, it just feels, I don't know, almost feels a little off, but it makes it all the more impressive for Mockingbird. At least the easiest thing, Gore, I think, for us to kind of look at and push a narrative of is God selection. I mean, it feels like that has to be where things change. I know there were some slight questions on the desk about it too, and sort of wondering where they might go. And I feel like Bill's Goons might need to simplify it down, but those are all questions that we'll have answered when we get back after some short messages. Don't go anywhere.
This is me, I'm so royal, and you all wanna be round. Yeah, you all wanna be round. Round a champion, a champion. I got tons of soul on my true collective ball. Famous, also famous, number 1 desirable. I do what I want when I want and how I want it. Leave you with the one in me, yeah, that's how I roll. I got change to throw, I don't care about no gold. Better, so much better, flipping incredible. Always on the show, so they know that I still got it. And I never feel sorry, yeah, to the world. This is me, I'm so royal, and you all wanna be round. Yeah, you all wanna be round. Round a champion, a champion. This is me, I'm still on it. Cause you all wanna be loved. Yeah, you all wanna be loved. But a champion, a champion. When I hear him come like my fuse and then ba-bum. Later, see you later, I'm about to blow this up. You can sing my song if you want, I know you want it. It's always kinda funny, yeah, cause you I know I'm a superstar in the sky to lead you on. Haters gonna hate us, approve of how they love. They can bring me down, nah, nah, nah. They are jealous of me and my umbrella, yeah, they love me so. This is me, I'm so royal, and you all wanna be round. Yeah, you all wanna be round. Round a champion, a champion. This is me, I'm still on it. Cause you all wanna be loved. Yeah, you all wanna be loved. But a champion, yeah. All I wanna do is just say, you don't understand how I play. I am on my way to win you over and over, yeah. Oh, you can hear my voice in your head, and you wanna hear it again. So you play it over and over.
And then I said, that's not Bacchus, that's Bilson's mother. That one always makes me laugh. But enough about my weekend. Hey, Gormizer, what's new with you?
Just picked up my SMITE 2 Founders Edition.
Very nice.
Purchased it on my preferred gaming platform just yesterday.
Nice skin.
It's Cacodemon Ymir. It comes with all SMITE 2 gods. Forever.
That's very cool, Gormizer, but that's nothing. Look at this. Night Stalker Neath and Ascension passes for 11 Alpha Launch gods. What do you think?
Geez, that is really super. How'd a nitwit like you get so tasteful?
Can't believe that Dandy prefers Chelly's Founders Edition to mine.
Very nice. Impressive. Let's see J-Max Founder Edition.
Look at that avatar, badge, and title. The tasteful thickness of Tier 5 Fallen Zeusia. Oh my god, it even comes with Ascension passes for all 23 Alpha gods.
Don't be like this psycho and upgrade your Founders Edition, so you don't miss out on Night Stalker Neath, Tier 5 Fallen Zeus, and Ascension passes for the first 23 gods. Upgrade today.
That's right. If you want to not be a psycho like Gore, you can go ahead and pick up your Founders Edition or even upgrade your own Founders Edition today. That way you can get the best of Smite 2. You get an Ultimate God Pass for every single god now and forever in Smite 2. That's just for picking up the base verse. You also get Cacodemon Ymir and any of the ones that you pick up, an avatar, a title. But if you start upgrading it from your founders, or let's say you just got an access code, let's say you've just been lurking around the Twitch chat and you picked one up and you say, okay, well, I want to pick mine up. You can upgrade yours to the base Founders Edition, or you can upgrade any of your Founders Editions upwards all the way up to Ultimate Founders Edition. If you get the Deluxe, you get all the cool stuff inside of the first one, plus you also get Night Stalker Neath, 11 Ascension Passes for Alpha Gods, or if you upgrade to the Ultimate Founders Edition, you get the Tier 5 Fallen Zeus in all his tasteful thickness. Woo! And you get the 23 Ascension Passes for the Alpha Launch Gods, plus an even better avatar and title to go along with it. So what are you waiting for? Open your game right now, or just sit here watching Twitch chat. Get yourself one of the keys, jump in, and then upgrade your Founders Edition today. I'm J-Mac, joined by Charlie here on the desk. We get ready to break it down, game number 1. And it looked like it was going to be a great start for Bill's Goons. They get a first blood at less than a minute into the game off of an invade. And then it all kind of just fell apart after that, Charlie. Mockingbird, they said, okay, who cares about a level 1 death, pre 1 minute. We're just going to outpace you everywhere else on the map.
Can I just say first of all that we've been playing too much Smite 2 to be dying to pre-level 1 invades, man. Everyone's gonna walk around as 5. They're gonna look for you. They're gonna sunder you. Just if you're not gonna group up as 5, just like chill under your tower. That's what I say. If your buff gets invaded, unfortunate, but it's better than just giving first blood up. Regardless, yeah, it did seem like Mockingbird had a very solid game plan here. You could tell that Bill's Goons really wanted to get late game online, but it just was not possible. They had some decent stops. There was, some attempts at trying to, delay this one around Fire Giant, but just did not end up working out. Beautiful play from the duo lane. I was very, very impressed with Calvin this time around. This Ymir was an absolute menace. The Xerxes Hexstone just adds another level of mobility that makes Ymir an absolute threat. You already wanted him, don't want you close. We gave him a rocket jump with his wall, and now we've added the Hexstone as well, which pretty much made sure that Krakito was not going to be able to get online. He went for the Sunbeam bow build that he likes so much, and it really needs some itemization before it can get to that critical point where the Honor becomes a threat, and I didn't see that point reached here. It just seemed like everyone on the side of Mockingbird, apart from that little bit of a early start, just got behind. They weren't able to come back from it.
And we kind of noticed how Herox on this Fenrir had sort of played the game. When you think of Fenrir, you think of, I'm going to do a whole lot of damage. I'm going to get in their face. Herox goes for this tankier style of Fenrir build, essentially acting as a third tank for the team just to be that, quick jump-in initiator for the squad. And it works out really well for Herox in this instance, able to pick up a couple of kills in the early game, which really started to snowball the jungle out of control, and it's why we've seen Fenrir banned so many times over the course of the Founders Series. And I wonder if maybe we see a change up in those bans, picks and bans for game number 2 between Bills Goons and Mockingbird. Bills Goons once again taking that first pick spot. Last time around, it was a Zeus ban, and Zeus in first ban sort of kind of tells, at least for me, you don't want to play the Zeus, and you don't want to give them the Zeus. But, like, we're at the point of competition, Trelly, where, like, if you think Zeus is really good, you should probably be making them ban the Zeus away.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing that, because here's the thing, Zeus I still don't think is the end-all be-all in any composition, right? I think that there are ways to deal with him if you have enough dive. He does ridiculous amounts of damage if you can keep him safe, and I guess that's what Bills Goons is worried about. They're like, the front line of Mockingbird is so solid. If we do give up Zeus, we're not going to be able to dive them, and as you said, I do agree that Other the Another is probably not trying to play that pickup. So, with that being said, what do? Looks like you run back the majority of the composition. We already have the Ama locked in here. Jingwei and Ymir going to be picked up for Mockingbird. There's the switch up, though. Chalk is going to be picked up here for Bills Goons. Not give that one back over to Mockingbird. And honestly, probably a good call. I don't know if you saw the damage numbers, but Chalk was ahead by a wide margin. And Soul is something I did not expect. Has fallen out of the meta for a while. Doesn't really get insta pressure in duo lane like she used to, but definitely a threat. Soul can hard carry a game way if given some extra itemization.
See, I don't know if Soul's like the one I would jump to in a third pick spot, especially when I was going to say Fenrir is still available if Mockingbird wants to go that way, and they're going to do so. And now, along with a Loki, leaves a couple of questions for me, really, for both of these team compositions, Charlie. Amaterasu, Chalk, Baron. Now makes me wonder which of Ama or Chalk is maybe going into the solo lane, or which one's going into the jungle. I guess what Amaterasu or Baron for support, maybe flip the other, and then maybe a Chalk jungle. I don't know. Right now, this team composition from Bills Goons is kind of throwing me for a loop, Trelly.
I mean, it looks to me like you just take Baron. Yeah, you go Baron support, you take the Ama mid, you let Chalk solo, and then Don's a jungle. That's what I would do.
Don's a jungle?
That's what I would do. I think you would bring the heat. I don't know if that's what they're going to do, but that's what I would do. Because think about it, right? You're going to have to deal with the Loki. And what does Donza do against a Loki? He just sends the rocket after him, you know, makes him deal with it. Probably not the case here. Again, it's just, I know the Bills Goons have went to these, you know, different style compositions. The one thing I will say, though, is that they are trying to measure out some of that early pressure that they were lacking in game number 1. I think Chalk is one of those guys that is just ridiculously hard to gank. He has so much mobility, so much burst damage, and that self-sustain really does help out. Takes a bit, like level 3 or so is when you're feeling a lot better on Chalk. But Mockingbird, again, it just seems like they're leveraging their early and their late game so well. They've got the Jingwei and the Cuckoo, but then they have Fenrir and Ymir to balance it out. I mean, I've been really impressed with how they've been drafting here. They don't want this game to go to 3, right? They are trying to lock this one down early. And remember, Bills Goons have their qualification on the line, and they went to the Donza and the Soul, something that we definitely didn't expect, but maybe that's the edge here in this composition, right? The fact that not everyone's used to playing against Donzas and Souls, right? It's just one of those picks that's fallen by the wayside for quite some time, not because people have forgotten about them, but because they have fallen much, much lower on the tier list. Like Donza, in my opinion, not very strong right now in any role. Now you're up against a Ymir, that makes it even harder. You're trying to initiate or get out with your rocket. That's getting blocked by a wall every single time. So definitely keep that in mind. Not an easy composition to execute on, and I've never been a big fan of the jungle. So if it is the jungle, I mean, we'll see.
I mean, one of the beauties of Smite 2 right now is that you can kind of build gods in a lot of different ways, you know, with the int versus the strength style of scaling. Some of these gods have hybrid scaling, some maybe lean more one way or another. We've seen a little bit of build diversity with these gods. Danzaburo is one of those. You can go a more, you know, mage style of play, you know, a lot more burst, put it focused harder into your abilities, or you can go that traditional, you know, kind of I want to deal damage with my in hands. Soul can also kind of do the same, but maybe to a lesser extent. We've seen Strength Soul kind of be the prominent one. Will the Int Soul pop out? Those are questions that we've got to answer in game number 2, which we'll throw it over to our casters for Bills Goons versus Mockingbird in our second game.
Thanks, guys, and welcome back onto the battleground. And I gotta say, there's something to that Anthony squared magic because I can't timestamp my gel pen. But I wrote down Danza Jungle ? With the smiley face because I got excited. That's exactly what we get. April on the Danza Jungle. Blue t-shirts are Bill's Goons. The red t-shirts are Mockingbird. It's Malum, Gore, and Doug in the booth. And I'm excited. And if I'm Mockingbird, I'm ready to stamp my ticket to playoffs.
I'm really, really, again, excited to see what they have to offer, especially if you can get away with not getting murked at the very beginning, right? I feel like as long as Duduin stays alive, you're off to a better start already. And then everything else you did was pretty solid. The only downside is because you've got the Finrear instead of, say, like the Chalk like last time, maybe that's one less tanky presence, although as J-Mac had just said on the desk, you can really kind of build a lot of people hybrid right now, and Fenrir in that list is included. But we should talk about the Tanuki in the jungle. It doesn't have the elephant in the room ring to it the same way. But like this is something I'm really interested in, specifically because it feels like it can work for the same reasons that realistically a carry is always going to work.
Oh, come on.
Right? Oh my god, do it, come on!
You gotta be doing it on purpose at this point. One more auto?
Oh,
One more auto?
oh,
One more
oh.
auto? Kirkido gets it. April's like, come on, that should have been mine. But first blood over to the soul. And that's how do you run that back? I mean, maybe the Founders series has caused some brain rot for me and my positivity, Gore, but that's back-to-back pre-minion spawning burst floods. And now the new one's going back, taking the 1v2 with the blue buff. Might go down again! Come on! Keep juking! You better hope those health pods stick fast enough, and they do not. That's a dead dog. That's 2 dead dogs already for Mockingbird.
Yeah, so I was gonna look past the first one because one death this early, you lose out on your buffs. Oh well, like it sucks, but you know, you get back to lane, you just start farming, you're down a level. Let's call it 2 deaths. This Fenrir could legitimately have just put us to game 3. Like that's the kind of start that they could be. If it was not in solo lane, if that was in mid, or if it was in the duo lane, I'd probably be a lot more heavy-handed on it. It definitely feels like something that maybe isn't as impactful and maybe as important for Mockingbird, but that lane for Duduin from here on out, it's not going to feel good for a long time, and it's going to take a long while to feel solid again.
When was the last time we saw a true and good lane swap go down in Smite? Smite 1 or Smite 2, for that matter. I mean, I've seen it in my casual games when I'm getting farmed in solo, and I ask my team to switch. But seeing it in Founder Series, this feels very unique.
Especially, man, wait, given the dynamic of this is going to be really...
Now it's getting messy, too.
Wild, because of everybody that's over here as well. You've just got so much presence.
I'm pretty sure the Loki is going to be more than okay with the situation. Naduin gets a kill, maybe back in it already, especially if it's 2. The wall forces the blink, but funny enough, Kirkido might not have needed to use it because the Sappurate could have just gotten you out. But regardless, Kirkido's okay. But Naduin gets a kill in pocket, and the lane swap continues. I feel like the person this might be working best for is kind of the Chalk right now.
Yeah, which, look, good for Chalk, but realistically, if you're going to put all your eggs in one basket, yeah, I was going to say, that's not the basket that I want to lean on. I like the idea, and conceptually, I think it's actually smart from Bill's Goons, right? You're ahead over here, send the dual lane over there. Chalk's already ahead. He can hold his own, see what happens, trade the farm up. If your duo lane almost gets wiped, though, there's not much else you can do other than swap it right back to where it was and let the guy who had the advantage go back to maybe where he needs to be. That's actually maybe ideal for this Fenrir. Again, it's still going to be a slight deficit overall to the Chalk because the buffs and things like that, but overall, you're nowhere near as far behind as you should have been at this point, and you get to, for the lack of a better way to describe it, kind of hit the reset button on the lane.
I almost wish they had kept with it a bit longer, just to sort of see at this point. Trouble for the Ymir. Should be a death. One more auto, but that's been the secret so far in this game, and hitting them. And again, April gets the worst end of hitting that final auto and will not get the pick. Credit goes to Dutcher on the Baron. But yeah, one thing I'll give both these teams credit for off the bat is kind of being willing to take that risk. We saw it game 1, we saw all the Bumbas come out. Game 2, we get the rolls or the lane swap, which is rare. I love seeing that kind of creativity, but I feel like if you're gonna take that chance, sometimes you've got to commit to the bid.
That's that, yeah, the weird dynamic of trying to make it work, and admittedly, it's a lot easier to swap back to and from a lane swap than it is, say, your Bumba's starters. Like, it is definitely something that, well, it feels like less risky, I guess is the way I would word it. It's something that you could definitely change. Oh my god, the damn it, I thought it was going to be enough until I realized that was the AMA, not, I don't know, something squishier. I don't know why I thought it was going to be something just completely different. But realistically, it does feel like Bill's Goons are in a position where, very similar to game 1, they've done something different that has afforded them some early games. I now have to watch what they do over the next couple of minutes, because it was like the 5 to 9 minute mark, I feel like, for Mockingbird that really started to change things back in their favor in game 1. And you don't even really need to change it in your favor this time. You just kind of need to not let Bill's Goons get ahead.
Nice ult away to get away from life of the party. So hi-rez gets to live to see another day. If I'm Bill's Goons, one thing that I feel like they've got to do, you've got to keep ahead of this gold curve that became such a problem. Already Mockingbird's catching up. You can see the jump down on the chart. That was your issue last game. Everything was getting out of control, even if it was controlled. We kept making points about how, wow, it's really just the ADC matchup where things are out of hand. It was still getting out of hand. That objectives got completely washed away in favor of Mockingbird, to the dismay of Bill's Goons. You've got to change up that stuff this game. You have to watch your gold. Keep an eye on experienced leads. Push people who are getting ahead back behind. You've got to be able to make those adjustments mid-game. But if Ymir just walks at you, I guess you'll accept the gift. I'm not sure what Calvin thought would happen. Maybe the Jingwei gets a pick, but that was a bit questionable.
Yeah, I feel like maybe, well, no, there's not even a rotation coming through. I don't know where they were at, other than maybe thinking Jingwei would do a lot more damage than Jingwei does, but it's still early game, man. Like, here Jingwei doesn't have enough items to do anything. And so, outside of maybe overestimating what they could accomplish there, I have to agree with you. I'm not sure why, and now it might even be a third death.
Life of the party will catch. That wall's not going to block you off. The pull-in, the damage down. A rampage for Krakito before 7 minutes hits the clock, by the way.
Now, that is, it's exactly what you call it. It starts with what I would say is a gift from Calvin, right? Being, you know, too aggressive in a circumstance where maybe it doesn't warrant it. And then the downside is that one small, oh, this isn't great, has turned into a whole lot of, oh no, things are going catastrophic. I mean, now you're even talking about a kill onto your mid laner. So you lose Calvin in maybe a mispositioning thing, and then suddenly Spud because there's a gank. Now you lose Calvin again because guess what? They're aggressive in your jungle and they've got life of the party, and now a Hawk as well. I mean, talk about a just miserable couple of minutes, and it's only because it's just been death, death, death.
hi-rez trying to make the most of it and get something going for Mockingbird, but it's having a really hard time killing April, and Calvin will actually get the last hit. It doesn't really matter too much, just bringing down the Danza is big, but I feel like hi-rez is going to have to do a lot of heavy lifting before. That's not something Lokis are amazing at until you get later in the game. You might see why in this fight. The two of Mockingbird caught in the jungle. The wall will help get the Loki away, but Calvin will just accept the sacrifice and try to take out the blue buff on its way to the grayscale.
Yeah, it definitely feels like a very rough start overall for Mockingbird, which normally I, would talk about late game and making sure to change certain things up and try to find balance and just focus on neutral camps. Your team isn't, let's call it quote unquote traditional, and specifically it's the Finra and the solo. It just feels like you're maybe once capabilities to get aggressive are starting to disappear because you're falling behind, and it's only a level every now and then when you look over there, pretty much everybody except for Hawk. But I need to see what they can look like maybe grouped up. The good news is that the other team is absolutely not conventional. And so for Bill's Goons, you've got this lead, but it might be necessary to kind of keep rolling at this pace, or else you'll be met by Mockingbird. I mean, right? A good rotation, 2 assassins for setup into a lockdown and massive ult coming in from Hawk, as well as, you know, Spud if you just give him some time to cook in the oven. That Jing Wei is going to come back swinging pretty damn hard, just like we saw last game. So it's really you're ahead. You've got a good gold lead. You've built the foundation. Can this comp keep it up without having to just keep that onslaught going? Can you do it without having to find kill after kill after kill, and instead find these Gold Furies cleanly, find these Pyromancers when they spawn in, and you know, eventually when Fire Giant becomes part of the equation, like secure that? You've got a lot of good zone, you've got good setup, you've got good team fight, you've got good objective press in terms of like towers. It's just, can you keep it up before you see big rotations from Mockingbird?
Spirit of the Night wins won't hit, but everything else sure is. Other than others down. It is a trade out, no more Herox for the fight, but the Mockingbird, they're not done grabbing picks. This is the exact thing Gore was just saying he couldn't do. Bill's Goons. That was the exact thing. Deduin also lives in solo. Gold Fury is up, and what I was gonna say is that gold lead, it was not being too solidified. Bill's Goons might need a fight like this, but the Rocket's not gonna find Calvin. Soul's taking a lot of damage, has to blink out of the whirlwind, which leaves open an engage tool, and that's gonna be a kill for Hawk. And a big time shutdown goes to the Cuckoo. You can even see it in the charts. I mean, with the lead that Bill's Goons had, Gore, you cannot let fights like this happen, not with a game that has the stakes it has.
Yeah, no, it just feels, I mean, unfortunate, right? Because of how far ahead you were, but it maybe answers another question, which was, what are you going to be able to do with such a massive lead? Are you able to kind of keep that pressure applied? And is it going to be heavy enough overall that you're going to be able to, for lack of a better way to say it, kind of sweep through this game? It felt like, with the way it started, which is a nice, fresh reminder, Deduin died twice.
Yeah, I would have slammed my head on the F6 key.
Yeah, I thought we were going to be done for a little while. I'm going to be honest. I was like, all right, prep for game 3.
Yeah, start writing it down.
Like one of the worst starts you could possibly have, and now this team's just going to be ahead. And instead, we're here, where suddenly Mockingbird, I mean, you're talking about them being not just like right back in this, but I would even argue I favor their comp for a few things, right? Not everything in the late game I think is in their favor, but a pretty considerable amount of what like is good in Smite and what you want to do in Smite. I like what their team is going to be able to accomplish. I still think like the tower push potential of Bill's Goons is going to be a little stronger, but when it comes to objective secure, I'm leaning all towards Mockingbird, and so it definitely is something to overcome right now for Bill's Goons. A second slip up like that might just turn this game, you know, in favor of Mockingbird. Right now, you still got a lead, you can still play with it.
And Bill's Goons' team fight late game requires, I mean, they've got a ton of CC, but it does need a lot of execution. And going back to game number 1, that was one thing where Bill's Goons was lacking, because while they kept the game close, and we were giving credit because at times it felt like, how is this game close? If you were to go and dissect the team fights, there was a lot of sloppy plays that you cannot make. Trouble for Krakito. Takes the sustain, has backup in the form of Baron. Now it's trouble for Spudio. Life of the party, catches the airstrike. Jing Wei will be A-okay. But yeah, these team fights, I guess they're going to continue to be the make or break board. You have to continue to just be clean. It's so funny how sometimes the biggest moments require the simplest answer, which is play clean.
Yeah, not much you really need to do other than that half the time, realistically. Like, as long as you play well, you're good. Now with the fight over the Fury on the brink, I like to see the engage coming in from specifically Bill's Goons.
Rocket out, or mention the secure, and it works indeed! Mockingbird steal away the Gold Fury. But what about the stuff after the stuff? The stuff's going pretty good for Bill's Goons. They've already got 2. The Talisman helps things out, keeps them safe in the Ragnarok. They want the dog dead. But Deduin not falling for the same tricks twice. So Mockingbird steal the gold, but they lose 2 members. And that lead, it's staying about the same, but the vibe, Gore, the vibe feels Bill's Goons.
Yeah, and what I like to see, and maybe we'll see a little bit more.
That
this
bad
actually
thing doesn't
changes
feel
some
good
of the-
vibes. That's bad vibes. You want good vibes, Bills Goons. Maybe they can turn it around, find a pick into doing. They can with the fadeaway on the Tanuki. All right, so that was messy, Gore. But
Yeah.
the vibes are still a net positive.
The math changes a little bit at the very end, but it still favors Bills Goons. And it all comes down to the fact that, you know, trading, you get the Gold Fury, that feels pretty solid. If you're able to either get a kill and get out, or just lose only Calvin or something, right? It feels better. You lose the duo lane, though, and we had seen it on the charts a second ago, but it kind of ended up being about half the Gold Fury in terms of the kills. So it was almost worthwhile that you were still a little ahead if you were Mockingbird. Then the kills and pressure came out afterwards, and suddenly it's a very different conversation. It's back, and not only in favor of Bills Goons, but in control of Bills Goons. So while the Secure was there, the team fight right now from Bills Goons seems to be the thing that's going to be difficult to surmount. And admittedly, they've got 2 carries, a mage, and 2 massive frontliners to really set things up. Like it's a good comp to fight. And as long as you can keep this lead, I think that they'll be able to keep that kind of team fight presence up.
Pyromancer goes to Bills Goons, but the fight not looking as good. They've got to disengage, but they have their Amaterasu going in, turns into a disengage tool. Now the Ama separated, the wall is perfect, and Spudio gets the kill. On to Other the Another. So Pyro towards blue, a kill towards red. Kind of a repeat scenario of what we saw at Gold Fury. And that pace, I feel like with a lot of stuff we've been talking about with Bills Goons, if they continue to kind of grab something but lose a little something, that's the kind of pace you don't want to give up to Mockingbird.
Yeah, I think the thing that Mockingbird is going to be able to excel in is what I would call right there a fight that maybe it was for Peel, but it kind of felt unnecessary. Like the Pyromancer was gone. You really just needed to get out, and it's probably better that you only lose Alma, but realistically, it kind of feels like there was a world where you could have just kind of slammed the red button, gotten out of the engagement altogether, and then reassessed for the next fight instead of letting Mockingbird get even a little bit. And it's that 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You're still making progress, but it's just going a little slower than maybe you would like and would want if you're Bills Goons here. And so I want to see them either go for a cleaner objective, or if you're gonna fight before. like once you had the thing, there's not too much to fight over. Yeah, I mean, in that kind of instance, I guess if you win real handily, maybe you could start pushing something else down. So like there's still things to grab, like you said. But that fight, like that wasn't a fight to get a tier 1 tower or a fight to get the Pyromancer. It was just a fight.
Yeah, it was just a fight. And objectives too, you know, we have some time. We do have a pause coming out. We'll have an update for it soon on that. Hopefully it's a nice quick easy pause and we get back in game soon. Objectives, you made the perfect call. That Secure wise, in terms of what the gods themselves are bringing to Secure, it heavily favors Mockingbird. Spear of the 9 Winds is one of the secure tools to use from the Cuckoo. But there is a lot of Sunders on the map, and Bills Goons were not able to take advantage of those Sunders on the Gold Fury. They did on the Pyromancer, but even then, Calvin used a wall, and that wall almost allowed Mockingbird to steal the Pyromancer. We're getting closer and closer to that sort of, you know, that Fire Giant Dance territory. And if you're already a little sloppy around objectives where you're favored in Sunders and only losing out to the big ultimate, and you've yet to be able to isolate the Cuckoo and solve that problem, I feel like that's a really bad omen for Bills Goons.
Yeah, I feel like we see comps like this from Bills Goons. I think that it excels. Again, tower push capabilities when you have a Soul and a Danza, they're going to be out through the roof. Your team fight capabilities, as long as they're on your grounds, I think you have a pretty solid chance at them. Again, you've got 2 carries. You still technically have some magic damage, maybe lacking a little bit of it. Well, no, the Soul. For some reason, my brain just defaulted her to the other side. No,
right.
You've got good magic damage in general. It's not just like the Baron. You've got decent setup between an Ama and a Baron and a Chalk. Like your team fight is so solid as long as you get to just do your thing. The other half of that coin is, like you said, like what is Mockingbird hitting more or less? Like, are their abilities slamming? Is it around an objective? Did they get the objective then? Like the question of where these fights happen, to the point where as much as I was just harping on them, I'm kind of talking myself into wanting to see Bills Goons fight for the sake of fighting, because I feel like that's where their comp is strongest.
Yeah, that's
is
what they
in
built
these
for,
fights.
kind
So
of.
like, win the fight, and then you could choose what you want to do afterward, as opposed to start the objective and hope. Because like you said, you might have better burn. I think with the 2 carries, with 2 classic warrior style players and gods, I would say you can burn an objective way faster than what you're going to see from Mockingbird.
And
But
like
you're not
you
going to
said,
do that last bit of damage.
it feels like that's what Bill's Goons are building for. That's what their composition's for. One of the things that I had written down that I've wanted to ask you around all this team fighting was the Danza Burrow build. I mean, Danza Jungle is something that players are playing. I'm on board with what the desk mentioned. It's definitely not top of the top right now, but there's pathways out there for it. One of which I haven't seen personally is this Transcendence into Worldstone build that the Danza Burrow's going, that April is rocking. So it's just been, I don't know. We'll have to see how things adjust. While we wait to get this pause figured out, we're going to send to a quick be right back screen. So don't go anywhere. Maybe refill your drink. And when we come back, we'll have more of game number 2.
It all comes back to you. You're all alone, falling headlong into the inside realm. Whoa, it all blackens out and you wake up on the floor, trying to stand up now, but you can't take no more. Is there anyone out there? Anyone? I've tried it all, nothing breaks the fall. Slowly fall into your arms. Is there anyone out there? Anyone? I've known myself and hid the scars. Now I'm reaching to stay in your arms. I don't know if it's night or day. All I want is to be carried away. Is there anyone out there? Anyone? I've tried it all, nothing breaks the fall. Slowly fall into your arms. Is there anyone out there? Anyone? I've known myself and hid the scars. Now I'm reaching to stay in your arms.
Hey, thanks for hanging out for us and welcome on back. Do have an update on the game at hand, which is game number 2 between Bills Goons and Mockingbird. Unfortunately, there is a bug one of the players was dealing with. They were unable to use their abilities. So we will be doing a lobby remake for game number 2. So we'll have that up soon for you. We're sorry for the pause and delay in action, but got to get that competitive integrity going and make sure everyone's on the same playing field. So we'll have that up for you soon. Don't go anywhere. When we come back, we will have that game number 2 in its entirety. So be back soon.
Sit back, enjoy the ride. We're on our way. One track, no turning back. Forget yesterday.
You're the battery that keeps me awake. Reload under your control before I break. Killing frustration, had to do it all to survive the nightfall. When you fight against the time and you're about to lose your mind, it's easy to cross the line. There's no answer as to why when you look death in the eye. Either you live or you die. You live or you die. You live or you die. You're killing me, you're killing me, you're killing me. Can't have enough, you're killing me, you're killing me, you're killing me. Can't have enough, you're killing me, you're killing me, you're killing me. When you fight against the time and you're about to lose your mind, it's easy to cross the line. There's no answer as to why when you look death in the eye. Either you live or you die. You live or you die. You live or you die. Live or you die.
I'm waiting. You're left with nothing. Your nose bleeding. At least there's something. Feed that horror. We'll go another round. The pain will make you cry. The pain will make me smile. The pain will make you cry. Another round won't save you now. Oh, you're spinning. I'll give you one thing. You keep going. No chance of winning. Fade that horror. Oh God, one last time. The pain will make you cry. The pain will make me smile. The pain will make you cry. Another round will bring you down. Another round won't save you now. Another round will bring you down. Another round won't save you now. The pain will make you cry. The pain will make me smile. The pain will make you cry. The pain will make you cry. The pain will make me smile. The pain will make you cry. The pain will make you cry. The pain will make you cry. The pain will make you cry.
Who with the rock. You physically couldn't hold me, I don't care if you pushing 40. You can never little bro me. Euro step like Ginobili, from young OG to the OG. From nosebleeds to floor seats. Circle stronger than Cuban links. My gold dance, your gold plated. You verse me, now that's a reach. We ready.
Hello, thanks for hanging out for us. We're back with game number 2. Bill's Goons versus Mockingbird. We got ourselves a remake. If you're just joining in, we'll see if it's a similar start, because remember, so far, Daduin is 0 for 3 in the first minute of game 1 and game 2, and Mockingbird, uncharacteristically, they're ready for it this time. They've got 5 in the jungle waiting for Bill's Goons to cross the threshold. We'll see if it does break down. They step in. Is there enough damage out from Mockingbird? They're looking for it early. They got good damage on a Krakito, who gets away for the time being. Surprised Calvin didn't have a wall there.
Yeah, realistically, it feels like, and that's just the unfortunate thing, it's a gamble, right, with Ymir? What do you level first, and when you level it, what are you going to lean heavy in? And if you go for the wall, it's like a 50-50, because sometimes you might not even get to use it. So
Yeah.
We've seen, actually, in the past, like you go years ago in SMITE 1, it was not uncommon to see motion like that in the jungle with an unleveled ability for Ymir. So you have the capability to grab your wall if you need it, freeze or carpet, whichever, if you go back to lane. So a nice little reset for him. I'm curious how the beginning of this one's going to go, though, given what we saw last time was focus on Duduin with, 2 deaths at the very beginning?
Freeze did find other the another. Looks like Bill's Goons really want an invade out. Calvin will take some poke, step away. Bill's Goons posturing very aggressive. They're going to be there on buffs. Try to make the play happen, and Mockingbird look like they just say okay, they concede and they step away.
It is, I mean, the unfortunate nature, I guess, of really having a restart like this is the fact that for Bill's Goons specifically, they had such a really solid start. For Mockingbird, we go back and we say all those things that we had said before. I still think a lot of them are true, where if you are Bill's Goons, I like your team fight in certain circumstances, although me and you were actually kind of talking about this while we had some downtime. While I like the concept of teamfight from Bill's Goons better no matter what, I like the execution of teamfight from Mockingbird a lot more. And it just feels like, well, especially if Creel goes down early, you have a lot more, I think, in favor of Mockingbird this time around. Because, again, I just think that their comp kind of lends itself to holding the own. If the game is even or in their favor, they're going to be doing fine. It's only when they are at a pretty big deficit that this comp for Mockingbird, struggles.
I'm with you, indeed. The maps get action across. Trouble forward to do an in solo. Cleano gets the pressure out. Loki looked for an invade as well, but didn't find too much success on the left-hand side of the map. And one thing, too, having to address the kind of big elephant in the room, Bill's Goons got off to an incredible start in the original version of game number 2. The Soul was 5-0. And, a remake, unfortunate for sure, but for Mockingbird, kind of an undeniable nice reset button. It's not often you get to have a full court timeout in SMITE, but Mockingbird got to have it, and I feel like it can do a lot for them now in this new version of it. And for Bill's Goons, the challenge becomes, all right, gang, how do we kind of all lock in and make things clean? How do we eliminate our memory of the original version of this game?
Yeah, realistically, I feel like what we're going to see, and what I'm really kind of keeping my eye on, because last time, you got to remember, we got 2 kills on a Fenrir, we got a roll or a lane swap, like we had a whole lot going on in the first few minutes of that of the, I guess, unofficial game 2. Now that it's all more standard, and Daduin's not going to be super far behind, you don't have that first blood bounty yet. Like, I anticipate this will have the same weight of play that a standard like game 3 in this kind of scenario would, where it's a little slower, a little more methodical, and the kills, maybe they aren't going to be high in number at the beginning, but they will slowly start to pick up. I just think that realistically, Mockingbird prefer this kind of pace. Outside of maybe Loki and Fenrir, you want a couple more items. You want to start stacking if you're this Kukul Khan. You definitely don't want to fight for a little while if you're Spud. You would love to just get items on mine and farm. So it does feel like you're in this position where just hang out if you're Mockingbird, right? Yep. Don't play too aggressive, and the game won't punish you. You won't get punished, and you'll be able to kind of coast into a favorable game state 10 minutes in.
One thing where this will hurt Bill's Goons as well, now that I'm thinking about it, we were talking about items before we had gotten into the remake, and we were looking at the Danza. Going Transcendence into Worldstone, I feel like that's going to be a bit tough this time around for the Danza Burrow to fully commit, because one of the advantages of being able to ult on cooldown is if your team is ahead and wanting to fight, and I don't know if that's going to be the case. Dusher in a lot of trouble, trying to step away, gets caught by the slow, but there's not enough damage to kill. Watch for the rotation, though. Got an Amaterasu on the way from Mockingbird. Could be trouble. You've got Spud here, you got Herox here. Everything splits around. Purple buff could be invaded. Depends who gets caught where. The wall catches Dutcher. The free's not going to find a home. You've got everyone here, but nobody's fully committed for the fight quite yet. Calvin looks for the step away, doesn't get taunted back. Bill's Goons really wanted a fight out of that. You can see it from the rotation, but they'll find nothing.
But this comp, it works so clean with fights. They'd love to fight. You want that first blood bounty. You want to start up as much as you can. You don't want to get caught out against a wall.
Like that for the first blood. Credit goes to Calvin. The dance around with the Saporate. The Sunder.
My God.
Spud. Nice support impression with the body blocks will keep Calvin alive. Carquito does get away, but well played from the Jingwei.
That was awesome. That was so fun to watch. And really, you've got to look at it. Part of that, there was a Disapparate up, right? So it's not like there were any autos coming out. But the loop around, presence from Spud to take some of those shots to make sure Calvin not only doesn't die, but because they kept that up so long, if Carquito tries to stay, yes, you maybe get that kill. You also probably get frozen in about 1 second when it comes off cooldown and then die anyway. So it feels like you're in this position where there was no winning if you're Carquito. It was just really, really well executed and really well done, I think, in terms of body blocks and rotations and I mean, just everything. That was just a really, really nice, simple play.
And we've said this in this set, clean and simple. That's what you've got to do if you want to make your way to that studio land. Reminder, Mockingbird 1 game away from qualifying themselves and having that comfy, cozy spot guaranteed in the studio land. No more fighting. And you don't want to go down because the competition in the lower bracket, which, by the way, is sort of a problem created by Bill's Goons, is really scary in the losers bracket right now. So you do not want to have to fight down there.
It is a difficult position for Bill's Goons to really choose anywhere to fight. And realistically, I'm curious about this and Herox in general. I'm going to keep my eye on. I feel like even in our unofficial game 2 that existed, right? Like that, we didn't say too much about the Loki. We didn't see too much about the Loki. And the same could really be true this game, but it's also really not Herox's fault. It's like,
right.
Who do you gank? The Chalk? That feels gross. The Ama? That also feels gross. Okay, cool. We'll go to the duo lane. Oh, wait, it's a Baron and a Soul. Okay, there's just nowhere that it really feels like you can jump into it and get the fight that you truly want.
Gold Fury up, 1k health. Amaterasu says, hang on, watch this drive, see if they can get the steal. Gold Fury not fully unleashed. Series 9 wins used, but not going to find a home. Mockingbird trying to disengage, but they're caught out in all directions, it seems. But when will the picks start falling? Calvin's walking right by the Baron and almost gets away, but now they start to fall. A double kill for April. And it works out well for Bill's Goons, and the Gold Fury got let go, which means the blue jerseys can pick it right back up and try to secure themselves the first Gold Fury of the game, and they do indeed do it.
I mean, that is about where you would want to be if you're going to look at not just a fight, you get 2 right immediately, but then also the Fury. Like, that is a great turnaround. So that part sucks. Deduin does a great job there just existing. That takes back a little bit, but You still win, I think, if you're Bills Goons, because you were getting to the point where I wouldn't say the game was getting out of hand, but like with the first blood bounty, if you lose the Gold Fury as well, we're going to be having a conversation for 20 minutes about how this game was over at 8, right? Like it's just waiting for the end to inevitably happen, or for Bills Goons to make some insane play. Now, you don't have to wait for the insane play. You just have to cultivate this lead the same way you did in game 1. Admittedly, it's not massive, right? That death definitely doesn't help too much, but it was on Dutcher, so maybe it's not the end of the world. But you also just need to figure out where you're going to put this, and we had liked what Mockingbird's groupings were like. I still like the team fight from Bills Goons. We'll just have to see if they can kind of keep that pressure up. Facilitate a larger gold lead, try to just lean heavier into what you've got, and kind of cross your fingers, hope for the best, that it ends up going the direction you want it to. Specifically, around this Danza joining in, it kind of goes to the same. Like, Danza joins in the fight, doesn't feel as bad as I still think for like a Loki, who still doesn't have really good targets, whether they're in a team fight or for ganks. So I think that there's definitely some hooks to be happy about for Bills Goons. It's just making sure that you stay in the lead, right? It's not just get it, it's maintain it, cultivate it, let it grow.
Well, they can keep letting it grow for the time being. It's easier when you've got gold, when you've got now Queen Naga buff as well. Coming up on 10 minutes, still 2-2. And the gold lead hasn't gone out of control since the Queen Naga we saw. And of course, I've got to mention it because I poked fun at it during the break, before the break, after the break, start of the remake. Different build for the dances so far. No Transcendence. Could still go a World Stone. It's not out of the realm of possibility to see it grabbed, but a different build was worth noting, especially because I made such a point calling out the World Stone. Cool. It's a really cool effect, Gore. Lower ultimates are cool, but I don't know. I feel like there's just so many better items out there that I really like seeing the Brawler's Ruin start.
Yeah. Man, it's just really, different. I don't know. There's an experiment going on that I haven't gotten to experience the test myself, and so this is going to be the make or break.
The decider on if you're playing Danza jungle tonight in your games.
Yeah, the lock-in. Do I want to see more Danza jungle? Because, like, I feel like we haven't gotten to see Danza a lot, really. Like, he's kind of shown up, but you know, I'll even throw Soul under the bus. Like, there's a couple gods on this lineup that just haven't gotten to see a ton of play, and admittedly, things are changing constantly. Gods are changing constantly. Buffs, nerfs, they're happening constantly. And so sometimes it can be impossible. It feels impossible to keep up with, but I feel like what April has in the arsenal, and again, what like Danza can do, I love in terms of the kit. It just comes down to whether or not you can find the damage at the right time. What a good wall ult combo. Unfortunate it doesn't kill.
Life of the party catches the EMEA ult, but still able to bring them back, and they'll go down. A killing spree for the Danza Burrow. So it works out for Bills Goons, and they get their Amaterasu away as well. Mockingbird still trying to play some catch-up. There's a Gold Fury up in the map, and Bills Goons are the first there and the first to pull it. Who do you have to respond with? You don't have the Spirit of the Nine Winds. We just saw that used. You're going to have to use one of your Sunders. You've got the Fenrir nearby if you want to try to make it happen. Gold Fury drop. They look for the fight. Bills Goons have a decent engage, and Mockingbird will simply call it off and step away. It's good for Mockingbird. The pressure was enough. But for Bills Goons, it does kind of feel, Gore, like, and I feel like we've said this a few times now, when they're finding these little moments of good, they've got to push it a little bit farther than maybe we're accustomed to seeing. Because reality is, we've seen Mockingbird can fight them even when they're behind. So you've got to push, and push some more.
Yeah, this is a kind of dig your heels in and just keep going, right? You can't give up even an inch of ground, it feels like, if you're Bills Goons right now, and it is just because Mockingbird's late game, and very specifically its Spud existing in the late game, having this kind of comp around to facilitate it, just feels like it's going to be really good. You do still have the benefits that are Ama, Baron, Chalk, right? As a, like, as a front line, that is insane. Like the ults that you're going to have to deal with and contend with, it is just going to be frustrating, I think, for anybody on Mockingbird to try and just hold on for themselves as long as possible. But realistically, it is a fight. It's uphill battle for Bills Goons. Like, even when they're in the lead, you just have to make sure that you're playing. What did we kept saying this? It's just playing clean. Like, you just got to be good. You just can't afford to slip up, and that includes objectives, right? If they come in with the secure of a Kukul Khan ult, then you've got to find 2 kills minimum afterward. If they grab a Gold Fury because you weren't able to find the zone, then you got to do something. And it just feels like no matter what, there's always that like caveat. Like, you can't quite get everything as clean as you would like because of the comp you have, but if you play to its strengths, you should be able to run the game kind of with the lead you have. Again, it's not nearly really as big as I think you would like it to be, but not bad spot to be in overall, right, for 14-15 minutes into the game.
Have to keep watching, of course, as these fights progress, where they go from here. My eyes are going to continue to be on April. I know I've said it a few times now, but especially seeing how well this iteration of game number 2 is going. We're now around the same point we were in the original version of it before the remake was needed. I feel like you've just got to keep stepping up as a Danza, because you're hedging a lot of your bets on this pick. The Soul, I don't know how she's going to compare to the Jingwei the later we go. We all know how hard a Jingwei can hit late game. Soul, she's doing numbers. She's got damage online. I don't know if it's going to compete the same way, especially when you kind of add into the equation how good Calvin's been doing so far at setting up with both the walls and the freezes. So there's a lot to watch in how these fights break down. And April feels like the easy go-to. And of course, the damage from Chalk, which we haven't mentioned too much of. Already starting to see some rotations out around the Gold Fury. Speaking of the Chalk, speaking of the Danza, the whole cast of characters is here, minus the Amaterasu. Fender uses his Brutalize to avoid some CC, and it's going to be a slow burn start. There's the Ragnarok Talisman catches.
Yeah, man, this is going to be an interesting fight overall, because I think you can get aggressive. That's not a good way to start it, though.
A lot of poke already on the Clino, repositions.
Oh.
A big ultimate used, and
whiffed.
Kind of wasted for Mockingbird. What are you going to do without it now? Where's your new engage? Herox caught out on the Loki, could be sent to the Grayscale, gets the ult away. A new engage comes out. Calvin looks for the opening for the rest of the team, but doesn't get enough damage across and goes down to Dutcher. Now Mockingbird will take the cue to retreat. Maybe have to concede this Gold Fury. You've used a lot of your secure, and Gore, look who's on the way. It's the Amaterasu. Things have gotten messy for Mockingbird. Gold down below half. Can you get it away this time? Looks like they will indeed. Bills Goons with their second Gold Fury of the game.
Yeah, that's, man, one of those engagements where I almost wish Mockingbird had just gotten out faster, and it's only because the one strength that we have been highlighting that they have that is, you know, great for them has been the secure around objectives, and when that isn't on the board, the fight, I think, favors Bills Goons pretty heavily. Like, it just draft-wise, I feel like it can control a lot more. And maybe it's not something that dominates heavy in lane, although I will say Solo definitely seems to have been more or less controlled and dominated by the Chalk. Realistically, it just is this grouping, right? I mean, you've got 2 tanky bodies by nature and then 1 by scaling and itemization that are zoning and controlling and creating so much room for 2 hard-hitting carries, one of which who I think is able to get online a lot earlier than the other, and the other one who's going to be doing a different type of damage than everybody else, so that feels like it's going to be able to weave through maybe some of the protections on the other side. And when you put them together, again, when you aren't able to either find a pick, right? They invested a whole lot to get a kill. That's Mockingbird, I should say. They invested a ton to a kill that didn't even happen. And then on top of that, they lose their secure. They didn't really have any reason to stick around for a fight after that. And unfortunately, that might be not all she wrote, but it might really cause like just a massive disruption to their game plan and to their pacing.
Caught again, left side of the map, but You've got your Cuckoo here in time, and the Pyros here. The night wins. Should have gotten the secure there. What perfect timing from Hawk, and even better from Herox to bring down Krakito. A fantastic start out for Mockingbird. Klino is a bit too tanky to overcommit on, but damage done. Bomb down. I'm fairly certain the Cuckoo stole that. I mean, you got caught on the left-hand side. You go right, you see the Cuckoo, and you take the risk in his face.
I am watching. I'm kind of keeping my eye on April. It's like this bounce back between April and Malum. I feel so bad because I keep mentioning them, and I'm gonna, I'm gonna lean in here because like the Fenrir and the Loki, to doing
you're on it.
And Herox, like, hey guys.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean,
Where
these
you
are
at?
teams that, and I mentioned this in game one. In a lot of instances, we've seen a lot of these players. We've gotten to see their growth from the open tournaments up to now. We're at semifinals now. If Mockingbird win this game, they're going to the studio land to play against the biggest names in SMITE 2. So you're at that point where it is time to nitpick plays like that.
And the thing is, and admittedly, I feel like this is just maybe, I don't know how to describe it other than just straight up unfortunate. It just feels like there is not a whole lot of wiggle room for a Fenrir and a Loki right now. And the pace of this game, the way this game is set up, you've got to go in, you got to get a massive ult from one and some sort of performance from the other, because we really haven't gotten to see them. And I said it earlier, but like, Loki came into this and maybe one of the worst case scenarios where it just feels like there's not a good lane to gank because not a single one of those gods is somebody that I'm thinking, that's the guy Loki's going to shut down. It's, hey, tanky body. Guess what? Second tanky body. Guess what? Person who can literally just go damage immune. Like,
yeah,
it feels like you're not going to have the DPS early on to try and chase them down. And then as time goes on, you're going to be fighting kind of against the tides that are more and more health or, faster cooldowns, maybe even more damage coming your way, depending on who you go for. So we haven't gotten to see a whole lot of them. And it's maybe by design because of the way the draft is. So I can't even fault it. Like, it's Bill's Goons playing really well. And before the game even starts, it's just now trying to make something happen. Like, I want so badly for them. Not even because I'm rooting for Mockingbird, but more just because I want to see these guys find some success somewhere.
Yeah.
And give it, because it feels like right now, all the highlights that we've been leaning in on and the ones that I've been thinking are the strongest are coming out of mid. I keep mentioning the Jing Wei, and that's going to be something that becomes a bigger priority. And so until then, I mean, I've got a Bill's Goons hat on because it just feels like they have, admittedly, only 4-3 kills. It's not like it's crazy, but I think they have the distinct advantage outside of Secure in everything they need an advantage for.
And it's the cleanest they've looked by far. We're back in game now, post-pause, 20 minutes in. 57,000 to 53,000. Pretty decent lead going for Bill's Goons. Mockingbird, as Glorious mentioned, behind in kills, and the feel of the game, which has been a big thing in Founders so far. I feel like a lot of games they've had very clear feels where you could feel the ebbs and flows and follow along that way. This one's been pretty decisive for Bill's Goons, where even in the previous iteration before the remake, as this is one, Mockingbird had that control. They posture on fire, they find they're engaged in the form of the Fenrir. They bring back one, the damage might be enough for the kill. Lots of committal and it works out. That is a dead Baron Samdi. And Mockingbird walk right to fire.
Yeah, this is, I mean, that's smart, right? You've got one off the board. You might get a second one here. That wall was beautiful.
The Storm Call's gonna hit 4, but the Whirlwind damages tick into the Torrent to get away. And Chalk is gone for now. Fenrir is still on the hunt, and Fire Giant picked back up by Mockingbird. Nobody will get close in time. The Fire Giant will go to Mockingbird. Bill's Goons get their third Gold Fury. But Mockingbird, with an aggressive call, take the risk, and it pays off big time. They can use this Fire Giant for a lot.
Yeah, so the Gold Fury hurts Mockingbird, like right in the pockets where you want to hit him. The downside is the Fire Giant, in team fight prowess, but also in this tower prowess and push potential. All of that gold it's going to come back to even, and then as long as they still have Fire Giant for a little bit afterward, or assuming Mockingbird aren't able to pull it ahead, then they are going to be what I would argue is just distinctly in the lead. I think that this is a team that with the powerhouse they have, and specifically look at the itemization of the Jingwei and where it's at, right? You've got 4 items online now. Like, this is where...
And that Titans was the key in game 1.
Oh, absolutely, right? And especially, I mean, I would say even more this game. You're going to be hitting the Chalk, the Ama, and the Baron harder now. Like, that is the best case scenario for this Jingwei. You finally get to feel like you're active. In some of the boxing matches, I think up against, like, the Soul outside of Disapparate, I feel like they might favor you. Again, you've got some good disengage as well, so realistically, that's going to be kind of a, like, non-factor if it's a 1v1. I feel like you finally have the DPS online to get things going the way you need. And it's just trying to, if your build Goons, mitigate losses as much as you can. If you can keep them to just tier 1s, that's going to be massive in making sure that this Fire Giant, while helpful, isn't the end of the world for you.
But let's go back to game 1 and even a bit of game 2, where Mockingbird's team fights have always looked better. Bill's Goons have got to figure it out. This is the time to do it. Already, though, big time ultimate hits Kalino. TKOs the Chalk. Life at the party is down. Amaterasu and Danzaburo are not in the mid lane to help things out. The wall's good. The Surge's Hexstone to get away. Caught by the Ragnarok. Baron comes back to be sent 6 feet deep, with Spudio getting the credit and Mockingbird make it work in the mid lane so far. Danza and Ama on the way. Soul trying to slow things down, buy some time for the engage. There is that engage. The rocket follows the offensive. Can you get the kill, though? Yes, you can. Krakino cleans it up, but Spudio over the wall. The airstrike finds its target, and the crossbow bolts are just as good. It's a triple kill for Spud in the mid lane, and Mockingbird are just too damn good at team fighting.
So what I've decided, the only way to stop them, don't let Spud build Titans. that seems to be the key. 2 games in a row, like, that's so wild that is the thing that really breaches this open. And now you've got so much time. I mean, yeah, Baron's back up, but Baron Chalk, like, this is gonna be such a hard defense.
Mockingbird looking to lock their spot in. They're going to play this aggressive, walking to the throne room, maybe too aggressive. Ultimates are online for Bill's Goons. They're trying to hang on. They don't want to go down to that loser's bracket. They created chaos there already. They know how to defend. We've seen this before against GG, and Bill's Goons may be able to do it again. They force Mockingbird out of their throne room and hang on, but damage is done to that Titan. Very low positives. Only mid-Phoenix down. Still have towers up in both side lanes of your Bill's Goons. So you're not out. But Gore, the doctor's being called in to check the cut on your eyebrow. This boxing match is favoring the red corner.
Yeah, it is such a big opener. And again, it comes off of the back of that risky Fire Giant, right? Like, you make a call, you don't really know how it's going to go, but you luck out, you let a Gold Fury go the other way. But it grants you so much. You get tier 1, tier 2, and another tier 1, plus Phoenix in mid. So a lot of progress on the map. And you brought that Titan down the half. Like, you put yourselves in a good position. You kind of showcase that your team fight's pretty solid as well. And so I think even letting this Ancient Fury, go isn't really the end of the world if you're Mockingbird. I like the idea of them regrouping, kind of resetting. The plays that you need to be worried about are going to be around the Fire Giant. They're going to be on the right-hand side of the map when it respawns. Like, it is not, you're not worried about losing your towers right now. I think on either squad, maybe if the, minions are pushed up a little too heavily, you might lose, like, a tier 1. But since the only one standing for Bill's Goons specifically is in left, Mockingbird shouldn't be over there. So, I like the idea, small reset. Unfortunately, all those power spikes we were talking about and how they're really good and really solid just got bigger and more powerful and solid and strong. In that, I now see the Demon Blade, right, picked up for Spud. So you're leaning into Jingwei's strengths. You're a late game Jingwei. This is where you want to live, where you want to be. And kind of what you spend, like, the reason your early game isn't great is for these moments, this portion of game. If you get a clean line of fire set up by your team, just a clean lane to shoot down, it becomes so simple for you. It is a point and click game. It is, hey, there's guy, health bar go down. Ymir finds wall, freeze, cool. You just click. That's all you need to do, all you need to worry about. You've got your own little sets of CC and extra damage, so a lot to lean on, but I do think, as much as it is team-wide, I do think Loki, Fenrir, right, are going to be facilitators. I think they're going to have a big aspect of damage to this team and market that we'll see in maybe the post-game charts. But I think the flashy level plays are going to come from behind, are going to come from that Jingle.
Fire Giant pulled by Mockingbird. Spear of the Night Winds was early, but they get fire. Ragnarok looks for the engage, doesn't find much, but look around the side. Look where Herox is, looking for any pick to be had that could set up Mockingbird. But they will not find one, they will not over-aggress. Again, this is their chance to lock in a comfy spot in the studio LAN. The road to Vegas gets a lot easier if you lock in a very early seed. Bill's Goons created chaos in that loser's bracket. There are some demon teams waiting in the loser's bracket. You do not want to go there. You want to lock in early. And Mockingbird, they're knocking on the door of Phoenix. They want to do just that.
Yeah, this is, I mean, a good spot to be aggressive. You can get in there. As long as you can create a lot of the pressure, you need to make sure before mid-Phoenix respawns, that's kind of where the timer is. And being able to split the difference, or at least get in there while it's weakened, which you can already see Fenrir is going for it. Duin is on point with terms of aggression. They're going to actually hit 2 here.
The bomb was dropped. That got the solo Phoenix gone. The Duin in a bad spot, caught by the Danza, able to get away. So the damage is done. The guerrilla warfare basically works at the Phoenix lines. No more solo Phoenix. No more mid-Phoenix. The fire minion waves will pour in. The duo side's okay. You've got a tier 1, tier 2 still up defending your Phoenix, but Bill's Goons, they have an onslaught on the way.
Their defense last time. Close, but I'm going to use the term cozy. Like, they knew they could be successful. They knew they could be fine. You've got way more in your arsenal now, right? Like, this feels like it's almost set up to be defended. And all it takes is Mockingbird to overcommit. And suddenly we're having a different conversation. I mean, you had even said it. We've seen it in the past. Admittedly, in the past, there weren't 4 towers still standing on the other side. So that is something to overcome, even if you get this defense. But all it takes is Mockingbird, you know, getting a little too jumpy, a little too antsy, and it'll just fall back apart.
Same can be said for Bill's Goons. They were jumpy enough to use a dazzling offensive at the sight of Calvin walking up. Ragnarok looks for the dance of the rocket out. Fenrir will catch it. So ult for ult, but that's now 2 ults gone for Bill's Goons. And that Ragnarok will be up fairly soon. So Mockingbird, they're playing this slow burn really well. And Bill's Goons, they're not in panic territory, but they're getting close. The Hexstone in. Mockingbird, what a call game. Ultimate's out, onto the Titan. Spirit 2, Calvin's gone. April's holding on, but that Titan, it might be too low. You've got to make it work, but they won't. Mockingbird had a ring to shine, and they do it indeed. They take it 2-0. They're going to the studio LAN.
What a outro for it, right? I mean, what a way to qualify. You go in, you virtually get team wiped,
It's
but
like
it doesn't
bored.
matter because you got the damage done. And that's kind of the risk, right? When you lose your Phoenixes, when you have a team on the other side that has enough damage, the thing you're worried about isn't, especially in the Titan room, you're not worried about you getting wiped. You're worried about not being able to slow the damage on your Titan. If Mockingbird send any of that extra damage towards Bill's Goons, it's game over and not in their favor. It's Bill's Goons running down mid right now, and we're still talking about it. And what a defense. And it was still a really good defense. It's just the fact that Mockingbird focused their damage so well and were able to get even that last little tick, right? And luckily, it was a Fenrir that's still alive, right? Just enough to send the Titan over the edge. I mean, that is exactly how you need to do it. And if you're going to full commit, you got to full commit, and that's a great way to do it.
That is one heck of a full commit. You said it. What a way to outro a game. What a way to put your stamp and lock down your studio spot. But speaking of studio, we got some desk guys who I'm sure would love to break down that ending of game number 2. So over to you, Desk.
That's right. It's J-Mac and Trelly, the desk guys, here to break down game number 2 best we can. And Trelly, for a long while in this match, you look at the first 18, 19 minutes of this game, it's essentially a stalemate. We were looking at like maybe a 3-2, 3-3 on the kill count. It's going pretty much dead even that whole way. But all it takes is the one breakout fight in mid, that one 3-kill swing that Mockingbird get. They find the one pick on the Baron's support, and then from that point on, they're able to snowball the team fight in their favor. And then off of that, get that momentum that Mockingbird was needed in order to move towards the Fire Giant and start closing out this game.
Yeah, for me, it looked like Bills Goons had, a sizable lead just gold-wise. They had 3 Gold Furies to 0, but the Fire Giant was always an issue. I think Hawk was a looming threat. This Cuckoo did so much damage. The Burst was a threat, and Spud had so much extra farm. This Jing Wei was ridiculously farmed, so itemization-wise was just critting so hard. So they were always hesitant to go towards objectives. So what was happening a lot was send Amon a split push, right? Let's just sit here and try and fight, and we'll send another away. He'll get some towers, eventually we'll fight. And the fight never really came. I mean, I think from the Fire Giant pull that Mockingbird went for, they were still a little bit behind, but they had the extra burst damage, they had the shred, and of course they had Calvin, who, despite being 1, 4, and 5, was setting up a lot, was a very big threat to just about everyone on the side of Bills Goons. This Ymir was lethal, man. The walls, the freezes, the setup. I was very impressed. I'm giving Calvin the MVP of this set, honestly, because this Ymir struck fear in both Game 1 and Game 2.
And that's what I was going to point to, was Game 1 was also really good for the Ymir because there's really nobody that can deal with the walls of the Ymir. I mean, Shell isn't a super popular relic spot right now. A lot of people are going the Blinks, Sunders, Aegises are kind of the top 3 right now. It feels that Shell is just kind of being left behind, and it never really feels good going Phantom Shell just for a Ymir. But when your entire team really can't deal with the Ymir wall, maybe there is some merit in trying to go for a relic like that to help you out. But Calvin makes some big plays. Walls set up to force out Cersei's Hexstone from the Baron a couple of times just to get away from them, to reposition, get that extra form of CC immunity, but just not enough for the side of Bills Goons. Luckily for Bills Goons, this isn't the end of the road for them, Trello. They will drop down into the losers bracket and still have a second chance at life and a second chance to make it to the in-studio land. But for Mockingbird, they've qualified. They've done everything they need. They got their 2-0, and they get to comfortably sit knowing we've made it to land. All we got to do now is just wait to see who's going to be joining us.
Exactly, and that's the most comfortable spot to be in, right? You just sit back and watch the competition, try and figure out how everyone else is playing their own meta, and you can kind of breathe that sigh of relief. But as you said, Bills Goons, they still have a bit of their journey left to go if they want to be able to lock in their spot here at LAN. And I think a lot of what they did here was really good. This is not a team that I think is just, should be counted out by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, if you made it to semifinals, you can compete for sure. But I think this set could have gone either way if they were able to lock in just a better objective fight, in my opinion, because again, they were able to find a small lead. It just they really couldn't translate a team fight. And Mockingbird, it seemed like they had that confidence as long as they were able to make it to that part of the game where they had us all grouped up. As a squad, as a unit, Mockingbird won the day.
Yeah, I think that level of confidence is kind of the big thing. And you would have thought that after a big win last week for Bills Goons, that would have kind of bumped it up there. Say, we beat Giovanni Giorgio. Like, we've got a real shot at making this. And it felt like in the early game that confidence was there. But once one thing went wrong for Bills Goons, that's when we started to kind of see the faltering. Everything was going fairly well. Well, we lost an objective. Okay, well, maybe it's not the end of the world early. Oh, we lost a team fight. Now you start to kind of see the tower crumble a little bit in front of them, and it's just so hard for them to really find that bounce back. Their early leads and some of their early kills they were able to get, even if you go back to the first iteration of this second game, it was a really great start for them. They were able to get 2 kills onto Duin. Krakito was sitting at 5-0 at one point. It's just translating that early game lead into these kind of late game plays and objectives. Yep. That is really kind of the important part for them. And I believe we do have a bracket ready to show you guys just to kind of see how everything has shaken up so far. Mockingbird, with their 2-0, they move on to the finals. They've guaranteed themselves a spot at LAN in December. Taking a look down, though, Losers Round 3 has already played itself out. We talked about how Giovanni Giorgio and Titans Reloaded had to play out. Giovanni Giorgio gets themselves the 2-0, which means that they are now just a couple of matches away from a potential qualification themselves. And then for Yoda Gang and Smoke Break, it's Smoke Break who pulls out and gets the 2-0. And it'll now be Bills Goons having to face yet another top-tier team to try and move forward once more. This time it will be against Smoke Break in Losers Round 4. Now you're wondering, okay, well, who does Giovanni Giorgio play? Well, Charlie, that's our next matchup. The loser of Team Risk versus Scorps will drop down to place off against GG and see who has that next chance to qualify into Losers Round 5.
And that's the thing. You still have to keep your hopes alive if you drop down into that loser's bracket. But again, we already mentioned this, but there are some absolute threats down in that lower seed. GG being able to get their 2-0, that bodes well for them. We talked about hopefully they don't lose their confidence. And I think as a squad, they've been here before, right? These are guys that have been playing competitive SMITE 1 for such a long time, competitive SMITE 2 since its inception at this point. So they're not going to let just a drop down to the loser's bracket shake their mental. And I do think that Bills Goons, they should keep a certain level of confidence. You know, this has got to be one of those short memory situations where, yeah, you got a 2-0. It was kind of close in both games, so it could have went either way if we brought something else to the table. I really did like April on this Donza Jungle, something that I was very critical of on the desk previously. Just not critical, but more so skeptical, right? Like, how's this going to perform? It's up against this Ymir pick that seems like a pretty solid counter, but I think they did a lot of good things here. But again, they got to be able to lock in because you really cannot show up. You got to be firing on all cylinders, especially on a day like today when your hopes of land, what you've been working for a solid 2 months at this point, is all on the line. So hopefully that's the kind of matchup we see.
Well, look, congratulations to Mockingbird, our first team in EMEA to qualify to the in-studio land for Bills Goons. They're going to have to fight their way through the losers bracket. And we've still got another semifinal coming up, and we'll get to that one right after this break.